Yo, welcome to Cross Politic. We are about to go live, but
Spring break's over.
Yeah, it's spring break. Thank you, Gabe. This is not the show, so I don't need to be interrupted right now. I'm trying to let people know they can come onto the show and start sharing the show and get everything going. That we're not quite prepped yet on what we're doing.
It's 30 degrees in Moscow, but spring break's over.
Did you hear that they actually just dropped the JFK files?
Yes.
They literally like 10 minutes ago.
Like we're gonna have Grok run an assessment for us.
Oh, that'd be great. Bank, get on that. So we're still putting. Switch to me. Hey, switch to me. Hey, switch to me. Hey, there we go. So listen, we are getting the show prepped and ready to go right now. That's what everybody's doing over here. Pastor Toby's over here on his computer. Gabe's over here on his computer. We're getting the clips lined up. It's going to be a fantastic show. David Zients is going to join us on the show to talk about these federal judges that are absolutely trying to be super political and stop the executive office from doing what they're supposed to be doing. What is wrong with these people? I thought they understood law. We're going to talk about that with David Zients and the Supreme Court, who's getting involved in it now. That's going to be fantastic. So don't miss that. That's the first part of the show. There is so much to engage and talk about. We got to talk about the $1.9 billion that Stacey Abrams got that Elon Musk found that's been going over to nonprofits, and he just used her as an example of what she's been doing with that money. So that's going to be fantastic to talk about. There's a lot of things you're going to want to know about that. But before we get there, we're going to solve a problem that I realized while I was on break, a lot of people have. They lack wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And don't worry, we have that solved for you. We know you're part of that group. You need some wisdom. Pastor Toby has a series inside of the Pub TV app that if you are a Fight Laugh Feast Pub TV club member, you get access to this so you don't have to act like the rest of the world out there that's ignorant. Not ignorant, ignorant. And so don't be ignorant. Enjoy this clip, get some wisdom, sign up to become a club member so you can get the rest of the, 40 episodes? Is 40, 50? 48. Almost, the producer knows it's 48 episodes of Pastor Toby's Wisdom for Kings. Enjoy this clip. We'll be right back and get the show going.
Today we look at two proverbs connected to words and the impact of good words and wicked words, not only on the world around them, but particularly on those who speak them. So the first one is verse 13. The wicked is snared by the transgression of his lips, but the just shall come out of trouble. The wicked really do hunt for their own lives. This is a truth that is always true. It's always the case. But this is what this proverb in particular is highlighting. The wicked really do hunt for their own lives. And really all sin is in some way masochistic. There's some sick pleasure in doing what causes self-harm. I mean, why do we do it over and over and over again? Sin always harms others and always harms ourselves. Sin is destructive. Sin really is going back into the nothingness, the uncreatedness, that void, that emptiness, that darkness that was there before God spoke his creative word. When we are aligned with that creative word, when we're in submission to that creative word, we are blessed by it. We are enlivened by it, and then we in turn bless others. It makes us fruitful. It makes us lively. But when we turn against that word, we really are in a certain way rejecting all of creation. We're rejecting the God who made all things. We're rejecting the word that upholds all things. And therefore, we're harming ourselves. So here the emphasis is on the tongue, the lips, words. The words of the wicked are like hooks that catch in their own flesh. Have you ever been playing with a fishing rod before and had that hook get caught in your hand or in your arm? That's what this is like. The wicked, their words are like hooks that get caught in their own flesh. This is because the words of the wicked are full of lies. Those lies hook you. You get caught. You get trapped in your lies, in your deceptions, in lies that you tell yourself, in lies that you tell others, in lies that you live. Have you ever been trapped that way, telling a lie and then maybe telling another lie to try to cover the previous lie, and then another lie to cover the lies that you told about the previous, and so on. It just gets worse and worse. You get hooked, you get caught, you get snared. But this is also because the words of the wicked are sharp and bitter and biting. They not only harm their targets, they also harm the speaker. When you speak biting words, those words tear into you. When you speak bitter words, that bitterness poisons you. It's been said that bitterness is like eating rat poison and hoping the rat will die, which is kind of dumb, right? If you eat the rat poison, the rat is not going to die. You're the one that just got poisoned. This demonstrates the folly of bitterness, right? Just chewing on some wrong, some offense that someone has done to you, just chewing on it, marinating it in it, just rolling it over in your heart and your head over and over again. That's not eating that rat poison. It's not like the person that you're upset about, the person who harmed you or wronged you, or you think wronged you, whether they did or didn't, they're not being harmed by this directly. Now they may be in the subsequent actions and words toward them, but you know what? You're harming yourself. You're hurting yourself with that bitterness. There's long-term consequences from it. A mouth full of bitterness will quickly turn into a gut full of bitterness, a gut full of bitter poison. This often leads to real health problems. It's not just spiritual, it's not just emotional, but people's bodies really are torn apart. Things like ulcers and other sicknesses really do come from bitterness, harshness, anger. The words you say really do feed you. The words you say really do affect you. And Jesus said that out of the mouth comes all kinds of evil things that defile a man. Now, even if in the first instance, Jesus is primarily talking there about spiritual defilement, talking about moral defilement, nevertheless, the heart and the body are connected. The soul and the body are connected. And even if we don't understand exactly how those things are connected, we know that they are. This is why, frequently in the Gospels when Jesus is healing people, their physical ailments are connected to their guilt, connected to their sin. And even if we're not the great physician like Jesus was, we don't always know the exact connection. Sometimes we do, though, right? A sin of alcoholism and drunkenness really does lead to liver disease and things like this, various cancers and so on. And so we know these things are connected, and we cannot be surprised when our words, the words that we say, the attitudes that we cultivate really do have a massive impact, not only on our heart, and not only on our mind, but also on our bodies. They do defile us. It was said, loose lips sink ships. That was an older American idiom coined during World War II. It was meant to warn people to be careful about various attempts at foreign espionage. Who knows who might be a secret agent for the Nazis or for the Italians or for the Japanese or what have you. But the point is very parallel.
Imagine a Christian college so desperate for worldly approval that congratulating an alumnus causes an institutional crisis. C.S. Lewis wrote that modern education is designed to create men without chests. In our ghastly simplicity, we castrate and bid the geldings be fruitful. But not at New St. Andrews College. We don't aspire to be the evangelical Harvard, selling our spiritual birthright for a pot of pious platitudes and federal financial aid, or doubling down on DEI until we are DEAD. Tucked away in the chimney of Idaho, surrounded by rolling wheat fields, pine forests, and fully intact bulls, we offer a Christian liberal arts education for outlaws and pirates. We don't feed the victimhood that afflicts young snowflakes, and we refuse to be manipulated by activists wielding their skin color and pronouns, or nice guys wielding their respectability and angst. And when the French are storming the Bastille, we won't tuck tail and run from empathetic mobs. No, we won't be steered by the emotional sabotage of the left, because we're anchored to the Word of God. Our aim is to graduate leaders who shape culture under the lordship of Christ. And when the Lord elevates them to positions of power, we'll celebrate the men and women of courage that we've launched into the cultural melee that surrounds us. We'll even congratulate faithful alumni of other institutions. So congratulations, Russ. You too, Pete.
But redemption is real.
And JD, tell Margaret we said hi.
I don't really care, Margaret.
New St. Andrews College. Don't be a steer.
You gotta do it for children. You gotta do it for kin. You gotta do it for the people. At the end never gonna swim.
Everybody.
Gotta drain the swamp.
Yeah. Gotta drain the
Right
swamp.
now, what's in the mud? You gotta
What's in the
drain
mud?
swamp. Like lipstick on a hog. You gotta
Like
get
lipstick on a
down
hog.
there.
Gotta drain that swamp.
Do some cleaning up. You gotta drain the swamp. Drain the swamp.
Oh, and them swamp creatures ain't no joke.
That's right. You got to drain them. They're mad right now. Hey, y'all, welcome to Cross Politic on the Fight Laugh Feast Network. After a week of spring break, we all had spring break. That was a friend on Twitter. His dad made that song, wrote the song. That's the chorus.
That's not AI. That's somebody actually.
That's a real dude.
It's a real dude.
I thought I
And,
felt
somebody's
I
dad.
felt some life in that.
That's somebody's dad.
pretty
Yeah,
good.
there was some life
Gotta
in that.
drain
So,
the swamp.
he gave me permission to play it on the show.
Send us
today
some
and
more
everything.
music.
So, yeah,
Like lipstick on a pig.
Yep. The opening verse, which is what we didn't play, was really good. The lyrics were
Why
good.
Why didn't we play
I
the,
wanted to play the chorus and just get into the show.
What?
So that
but
was,
if it was really good,
Yeah, why are you telling us that? And then
then
not
not
playing
have
it.
it.
well, that means everyone's got to go find it. It's on YouTube. Drain the Swamp. Google
It's
Drain the
probably a bunch
YouTube
of
Drain the
songs.
Swamp, and subscribe to his channel. He did a great job.
What's the channel?
So whew.
See, Gabe.
Yeah.
I have the link.
Useless.
I'm so
You
sorry.
Useless.
forgot how to do
I'm
this.
so sorry.
One
Yeah.
week, and he's like,
He doesn't even know how to.
yeah,
Come on.
yeah.
My bad.
Hey, if you haven't yet liked or shared this show, would you please do it? If this is this one of your daily, weekly activities that you love to do, sit down, hang out with us, maybe while you're
I
making
had
some
multiple
dinner.
people saying, "Hey, I'm tired of reruns from last week. When are you guys going to record again?" I was like, "Today."
What else did your
Today,
mom
we're live
say?
again.
Hey,
It wasn't my mom. No. I know.
as soon as you like and share the show, you got new content. Just
There we go.
share and
That's
like that show. Maybe tag a couple of friends that you're trying to get them to hang out with us too. Maybe some of them those Baptists that are trying to be covenantal, but they're not really sure where they're going to land yet. Yeah. Anyways, is your website user-friendly, fast, and cohesive? Does your brand clearly communicate who you are and what you have to offer, whether you're just getting your business started or you've been around the block? Mad Bear Creative can help with all your design needs, from brand identity and web design to SEO and marketing materials. As a husband and wife team, Julio and Roslyn are excited to partner with other small but mighty business owners to capture attention, drive engagement, and unlock growth for your business. Visit madbear.io. That's madbear.io to sign up for a free consultation and discover how Mad Bear can help you build your legacy today. We're very grateful to have with us Davis Yancey. He's a Christian attorney, former military JAG officer, dedicated to defending religious freedom and constitutional rights. Davis, thanks for coming back on Cross Politic.
Gentlemen.
So all those...
Wait, before the judicial.
Really?
There's breaking news.
Really?
Breaking news.
Okay.
We got the
Okay.
other files from Epstein.
So the files are out. JFK files are out.
We heard that part.
Grok. I googled. I put it into Grok, and Grok said there's no major conspiracy news about it.
I don't believe it.
But even more breaking news is those astronauts that were in space for 9 months.
Yeah.
They landed literally like an hour ago.
Okay.
And this is a video of their landing here.
Right.
Go ahead and play it.
It's incredible to think that the Dragon capsule just minutes ago was going over 17,000 miles per hour, and now gently coasting to a soft splashdown.
There it goes. There it goes.
Amazing.
Boom.
And splashdown. Crew 9 back on Earth.
Wow. Listen to this.
And SpaceX Freedom, splashdown. Good main release.
Copy splashdown. We see main chutes cut. Nick, Alex, Butch, Sunny, on behalf of SpaceX, welcome home.
On behalf of
SpaceX.
SpaceX.
Yo, I ain't gonna lie, that made me emotional. I wasn't
Yeah,
expecting to
just
be
a little
emotional
bit.
right now.
Just a little bit. You've been in space for 9 months and you haven't breathed any oxygen from the Earth in 9 months. You haven't touched down and walked in gravity.
I ain't kissed my
In
wife
9
in 9 months.
You were abandoned by the Biden administration.
Yeah.
All for politics.
Yeah.
I the part I heard, I don't know if this is what was tearing you up over there, but on behalf of SpaceX.
Oh, I heard that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's a private company that just did that good
Space
deed.
rescue.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Davis, I know you ain't here to talk about that, but man, I saw you over there about to cry too.
Hey, anytime we demonstrate that the private sector is more effective at doing something than the federal government, then I tear up. So
yes.
That's a win.
Where's Bree Stinger
Let's
right now?
go.
Oh, my
Let's
goodness.
go.
So clearly, our judicial branch is doing great right now. Speaking of the public sector and the private sector,
so we to set this
You
up, we
interrupt
got a
us
quote.
again.
Do you know? Do you want to bring in the quote? You got it.
no, I don't know idea what the quote
You
is,
got
but apparently you know how you want to run this.
Yeah, I do actually today.
Yeah.
I was on spring break. I didn't get to do a show. My wife was tired of me
Go ahead.
talking to her.
Go
and
ahead.
everything.
It's almost like being in space for 9 months.
My
for
wife
you.
was like, "Please do your show."
I'm going to catch up with Davis later. It's fine. We'll be okay.
All right, so there's this like federal judge debacle going on right now with Trump. Trump sent a bunch of illegal aliens, and criminal illegal aliens, like they've done real criminal activity, not
gang members,
all that. Sent them out. Federal judge ordered Trump to bring them back in the middle of their flight.
Right,
and then just today, Chief Justice Roberts commented actually on this issue because Trump was like, these judges need to be impeached, these federal judges.
Yeah.
And so here's what Justice Roberts said today. He said, for more than 2 centuries, it has been established that impeachment is not the inappropriate response to disagreement concerning a judicial decision. The normal appellate review process exists for that purpose. So basically, Chief Justice Roberts saying, well, Trump, you should appeal this.
Right.
But the problem,
hey,
there's a
Davis,
massive legal problem. And that's why we bring Davis in.
Thanks for coming on, Davis. I hope you have a great day. We'll talk to you later. Appreciate it. Go ahead, Davis.
There's a lot here. So a couple of things just to set the stage and understand what's happening, right? We have this federal judge in Maryland who, along with other federal judges, is issuing injunctions to try and stop things that the Trump administration is doing. This case out of Maryland, this federal judge is essentially saying anything to do with U.S. aid, the stopping of funding, firing people, removing people from their positions, any of that cannot be done. It is not authorized. It has to stop immediately. So this just opens the door to a discussion and a debate that we have kind of lost sight of in this nation, but is coming back, and potentially it's coming back for good reason. So one of the things that's happened is, unlike what our Constitution intended, unlike what our founding fathers intended, the Supreme Court declared itself the final arbitrator of what is or is not constitutional. That's not what our founders intended. Our founders honestly thought that the branches would be separate but equal. There would not be a supreme branch, meaning the judicial branch, number one. But number two, they also intended under a federal system that the only real entity with the authority to declare an executive act or a legislative act unconstitutional was the states through the process of nullification, saying not in our state. Not in our state. That was federalism. That's the separation of powers that we have lost sight of, that nobody talks about, is the separation between the states and the federal government. That's all background to say what we have done is created a real problem for ourselves, because when it is convenient for whichever side is making the argument against the Trump administration, what they will do is either, run to Congress, run to the executive branch, or run to the courts, whatever they see fit. And what they're doing, and this kind of shows the absurdity of it, is they're running to all these different federal courts wherever they think they have the best chance of getting a favorable judge who will do things regardless of the law or the Constitution to try and stop the Trump administration. That's a problem that we're facing. So in this particular case, this judge is saying, well, I believe that this is a violation of the appointments clause, because I think Elon Musk is acting like a senior government official that should be appointed and then approved by the Senate. So this is fascinating, right? Because President Trump can just simply come back, and the Department of Justice can come back and say, nope, he's a senior advisor and I have to approve anything he says or does. Therefore, you're wrong. Now what? Now, in this case, arguably, the Trump administration could say, okay, we see your injunction, but we're going to file an emergency appeal, and we're going to be right back at the Supreme Court. And once again, we're going to be addressing an issue of what is the Roberts Court going to do? Obviously, Justice Roberts, and I've said this before, he's sort of a traditionalist. He wants to preserve the power of the court, the judicial branch. He wants to sort of preserve the prestige of it. So we run into the potential scenario where the Supreme Court is going to say, we disagree with the executive. We have a different interpretation of the Constitution in the executive branch. And that's going to raise the question, now what? how do we respond to that? How is our system built? That's where it gets very interesting. I mean, there is a case to be made, and this is the case that President Andrew Jackson made, which was, okay, that's interesting, Supreme Court. You don't have the ability to enforce that. We're going to keep doing what I believe is constitutional and is in the best interest of our country. And if the people of this country, who are ultimately sovereign, not the court, disagree with me, they can vote not to elect me my next term. Until then, thanks for your opinion. We'll stand by and keep doing what we're doing.
So you made something that confused my American civics knowledge. The Supreme Court, you said, their job is not to determine something that's constitutional or unconstitutional?
So they invented that authority in a case from 1803. It goes all the way back to this case of Marbury versus Madison, where they invented something that's not in the Constitution called judicial review. So they said, no, we are essentially the final arbiters of what is constitutional or is not constitutional. And in many settings, that's helpful, right? In many settings, the idea that they're going to look at it and they're going to say, okay, we think this is compliant with the Constitution or not. Logically, we could sort of figure out how that makes sense. The problem is when there is a controversy like this, or there is a disagreement over what is or is not constitutional, then it becomes a question of what do we do with that and how is that enforced? And that's quickly what we're going to. That's sort of the crisis, if you will, that's confronting us now.
So then what was the Supreme Court originally set up to do if it wasn't to judge something constitutional or not?
Really, it was set up to resolve conflicts between states. So if Maryland had a border dispute with Pennsylvania or otherwise, that was the kind of thing that would go to the Supreme Court. And then there would be other federal issues. But to be this sort of holy arbiter of what is constitutional and not constitutional was not what the founders had, because ultimately, yes, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, but the sovereignty rests within the people to elect their representatives, and the people can vote representatives that they believe are acting unconstitutionally out of office, or they can rely on their individual state government to protest and to attempt to nullify federal laws. Now, again, there's a lot of history that's gone by. Arguably, that's part of what the Civil War was fought over. The states that would have pushed that authority, you could argue, lost. And so you've had a huge gain in federal authority and power that was not anticipated by our Constitution since then.
Davis, I don't know if you saw, there was an interview circulating yesterday, about a 9-minute clip of Stephen Miller from the White House going at it with a CNN interviewer.
You mean pummeling that person?
Pummeling.
Yeah.
Pummeling.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, that's the word.
Ignorant.
That's what we do here across pod. We pummeled it.
It was nasty.
Yeah.
But I thought, I mean, he did a phenomenal job of repeating himself over and over again. And he argued, though, that in this case, Article 2 of the Constitution gives the president powers, particular powers, authority as commander-in-chief
with invasions.
To protect the sovereignty of a nation.
Yep.
And he said a district court can no more direct the president in deporting criminal aliens, illegal immigrants, then the district court could direct an aircraft carrier or
turn around
or troop deployment. And actually pressed that question on the CNN interviewer. Are you saying that a district court could tell, can make an order about troop deployment or an aircraft carrier movement or Air Force One, and could never get her to actually answer that question?
Yeah.
But he also referenced the Alien Enemies Act. Signed into law under Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah.
So it's like one of the earliest laws signed into law, which explicitly grants the president powers to remove alien
invasion,
immigrants that are in any way suspected of being part of some kind of seditious or treasonous movement. And in fact, in the Alien Enemies Act, it actually explicitly says that the courts are required to actually uphold it. Any acts by the president. It actually explicitly says that courts are required to submit to the president in this area. So I think you saw the interview. I think I saw you nodding, but was Stephen Miller right explain maybe briefly, Article 2 and the Alien Enemies Act, if you agree with that assessment.
Yeah, I think he was absolutely right. And what he was talking about, the legal terminology we would use would be justiciability. In other words, does it fall under the authority of courts to even address the issue? And the clear, logical, common sense argument that he was outlining is no, there are certain things that are established by the Constitution as well as by federal law that are within the authority of the commander-in-chief, acting as the commander-in-chief to defend our nation. And under those circumstances, there are certain things that the commander-in-chief can do. And the reality is we may not always like those decisions, but again, the issue we're bumping up against is the idea that there are judges who don't care about the law. They don't care about the Constitution. They merely want to use political power in any way they can, any way see fit to further whatever agenda they have. And again, this is why it matters when we talk about original intent and justices or judges that abide by original intent. We really have a legal system where we have some judges that believe in original intent. And even if they disagree with what's happening, they will follow the law to the best of their ability. They'll follow the Constitution. They'll do their job. We have other judges that their only moral or ethical principle that they have is whatever they believe is right. And we've sort of had some of these discussions about case law and other things, but that's really where we're bumping up against. We're bumping up against judges that don't really care what the Constitution has to say. They don't really care about that. They're just going to find an excuse to do what they think in their own mind, according to their own will is best. And they're going to just sort of define things situationally using situational ethics. And that's what you have going on here because, this judge is saying, well, people aren't getting paid and they're losing their jobs. And there are issues. They're different than the other USAID case we talked about where the argument was work had already been performed. In this case, we're talking about a judge telling the president of the United States, continue to send money to foreign countries that will fund terrorist organizations that are going to harm the interests of the United States. And again, I think there'll be an immediate appeal, but this would be one of those things where I think President Trump and his advisors are going to have to look at this long and hard and decide, is this a moment in time where we say, we're going to appeal this? Yes, we'll appeal it, but we are not sending a dime to the Taliban. We're not sending a dime to these foreign terrorist organizations if they're going to continue to harm American interests.
Davis, I'm sorry, I'm just taken back. Do we really have to convince an American judge that we shouldn't be sending money to a Taliban?
Yes.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
Right.
I don't even know.
And the same thing with the exporting the criminals out of our country. The judge is saying, bring those planes back, bring them back here. We have to convince a judge that too.
Right. And that's where, what Chief Justice Roberts was saying about, we don't impeach judges because we disagree with their opinion. No, but we do impeach judges that are not following the law and that are exceeding their constitutional authority and not abiding by their own oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. So that's the crisis, if you will. And it does go back to a really fundamental question. How do we resolve this? Will judges be impeached? I think some need to be. I think that needs to be a real discussion that we have. And then the other question is ultimately, if there is a fundamental question where, like under the Alien Enemies Act, where it's a legitimate national security interest, there's a question of that. And there's a disagreement between the executive branch, legislative branch, and the courts. What do we do? And again, there is some precedent under Andrew Jackson where the answer is Supreme Court. That's great. You've issued your opinion. The American people can review that. I'm going to continue doing this because I've made an oath to the Constitution. I think you're wrong. I think this is what I have to do. I think it's what I'm obligated to do. And then, the American people will vote in the next election. They'll vote in the midterms and decisions will be made. But that there is an argument to be made. While that doesn't bring stability and it doesn't feel like it gives us some of the stability we might like to have, it is an interesting argument for how these questions should ultimately be resolved politically, because the sovereignty to vote and elect representatives is in the hands of the American people.
But I don't think anybody likes that, Davis, that setup, because first of all, it puts the responsibility on the individual to pay attention to what's going on, what someone has done, and to take it upon themselves.
And your
to
vote
say,
matters.
We are not going to allow a congressman to create a law like this ever again. right? Or people to create laws like that, or judges to operate this way. And so that puts it in our position. And then there doesn't feel like, when just hearing it viscerally, doesn't feel like there's any emergency stops on something that we don't like, right? Both sides want that.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where we want to be able to count on judges to do the right thing. So here's a very personal example. Let's look at COVID, which impacted me as a military officer. I did not obey an order I received from my superior to receive the COVID shot. I disobeyed that order. I did not believe it was lawful. So there was litigation in federal court, and a judge said, we're going to issue an injunction, stop the carrying out of that order, because there is no emergency as to whether or not you get the COVID shot, but there is an emergency as to whether or not you get kicked out of the military. But all the federal judges that issued those rulings put limits on it. They said, that being said, we can't order the military to allow you to put on a uniform. We can't order the military to deploy you to a certain location. We can't order them to put you in a position. We can't order you to put them in command of a ship. Right. Those are outside of our control. What we can do is say, it appears to us that the military is violating the Constitution and the Religious Freedom Restoration Act by the way they processed your religious accommodation and the way they're carrying out this order. So on that very narrow, limited issue aspect of this, we can say, hard pause, let's resolve this first before anything detrimental happens. But all the courts refused, and you can see it. The federal courts that dealt with the COVID, many of them refused to take any action like restoring someone back to a command position and things like that. So it is possible, it can be done, but it takes judges that are willing to walk through those distinctions and are not just political operatives or just, using situational ethics to decide what they think is best in the moment.
Davis, one of the things that Stephen Miller said in that interview was when he was pressed on whether Trump was like ignoring the order or not, he kind of used this really diplomatic language where he says the Department of Justice has determined that there's no conflict between what we're doing and the order of the justice.
That was weird.
And I'm trying to, I'm trying to read between the lines here, and I think what that is sort of diplomatic language for saying you're welcome to your opinion, but we have this right constitutionally. And therefore, that's why it doesn't come into conflict, because it's almost like the equivalent of me issuing an order to Trump. It's like, okay, you're allowed to have your opinion. You're a judge.
Or the governor of Idaho.
Yeah, like you can have your opinion, but you don't actually have the authority in that lane. And so what you've just said doesn't actually conflict with what we're doing, because we have the full authority to do what we decided to do. And my question is that a right way to read that? And then the follow-up question is that also is there a difference between doing that because you believe you have the full constitutional right to do that and actually following sort of an appeals process in the courts, which is what Roberts is suggesting? Doesn't following an appeals process sort of admit the legitimacy of the order?
Yeah.
Whereas saying there's no conflict, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing, doesn't that also sort of subtly deny the legitimacy of the order?
I think it does. I think with the alien enemies and what was done with Tren de Aragua, the convenient out that the administration has was the fact that the planes were already over international waters.
Surprise.
So these are non-U.S. citizens on flights that are no longer under the jurisdiction and no longer in airspace or otherwise the United States. So it's a very diplomatic out to say, this federal judge no longer has jurisdiction. They may have before, they no longer do. And that happens, right? There's a lot of different ways where that can happen in cases where a judge loses jurisdiction. So it's a non-issue. To your point, Toby, I think there is a real question there. And I think that's what we're going to see is the Department of Justice through the Attorney General advising the president going to take a stand that this is outside of the authority of this judge. So we're not going to follow it. We're not going to abide by this decision, but also appeal it. There may be ways to do that, right? So you can do that. You can probably figure out a way to nuance that, right? Like a good lawyer, nuance that a little bit so that there is an appellate review. At the same time, I would be hard pressed again. You got to look at the specific payments that are being made. But if we assume that it is true that USAID it has been used, and it looks like it was to fund fraud and to fund things that are absolutely positively unconstitutional and against the health and safety of the people of the United States, detrimental to our nation, to our people, immoral, unethical, unconstitutional. If that's the case, then I would be hard pressed as an executive to argue that we should pay a single dime while we're waiting for the appeal, regardless of what this federal judge has ordered. So that's where we get very, very interesting. And that's where this starts to get very difficult to work through, and it does as we address these issues.
And it does seem like maybe there's also slight differences between the USAID situation and the Venezuelan gangs. You have the Aliens Act.
That's easy. I think that's an easy one to say the president has the authority to do that. That seems easy. There's plenty of precedent to say everything that Stephen Miller said, and for the president to do what he did. I think that's much easier than some of these other issues where we're talking about, other pieces of complicated legislation and what authority does the executive have to withhold funds and what does it mean and how long can the president impound funds? All those are other more complicated questions.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much for your expertise on this.
Yeah, always,
obviously, a lot's going to be coming down the pipe with this, and maybe even some challenges to the Supreme Court.
We'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah,
read those JFK files. I want to know what you think about those JFK files.
We'll do.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Cheers, Davis.
France wants to take back their statue.
It's not
Statue of Liberty.
theirs. It's not theirs.
No.
Indian givers?
Indian givers.
Come and take it.
Come and take it. Here's the White House press secretary going back and forth on this in a White House in a press conference.
There is now a member of the European Parliament from France who does not think the U.S. represents the values of the Statue of Liberty anymore. They want the Statue of Liberty back. So is President Trump going to send the Statue of Liberty back to France?
Absolutely not. And my advice to that unnamed low-level French politician would be to remind them that it's only because of the United States of America that the French are not speaking German right now. So they should be very grateful to our great country.
I look at this as a cry for help. If I came up here right now and I said, "Hell, Satan," you guys would be like, "All right, who's got your wife and kids captured?"
Yeah.
We know right now that France is overrun by Islam and Muslims, and I think this is their way of saying help and blinking twice. So I think that's my take on it.
That's a very
gracious. That's too gracious.
Very gracious.
This is their way of saying, "Please come save us," because we're going to be speaking Muslim pretty soon.
Speaking Muslim.
Yeah. Allahu Akbar. That's what they're going to be speaking pretty soon. They know it. And so this is
we want our statue back.
Please come help us deal with our Muslim problem.
Think about this. France gave us a statue that represented the liberty that America created or fought for.
Yeah.
And I kind of look at what Elon's doing through Doge right now. And in one sense, it makes me think that I don't know if America really wants our freedoms back with how we're kind of fighting Doge and burning up Tesla dealerships and, all the pushback that Elon has been getting and Trump have been getting from really. This is the first time in, I would say, my lifetime where I feel like the president is really trying to liberate us a little bit. There's no, I haven't seen big gains yet. But Elon's chipping away. He's found $1 billion here, $1 billion.
Did you see the numbers on illegals?
Yeah,
it's like down to 45.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Like from thousands. Down to that's pretty significant.
Without the Congress having to make a law, right?
Amazing.
Watch.
Amazing.
I think it's different than that. I really do think France is in trouble. They need to worry more about their own borders and Islam kind of infiltrating. But I think this is what happens when you do surgery and you're dealing with an infected wound.
Yeah.
You're going to have agents that come against the healing process, and you got to clean it out really well, and you're doing surgery. We have a very pussy wound, an issue, some sort of cancer, and we're cutting through it to deal with it. And this is what happens when you start doing surgery. And this is just a cleaning process. I think people really do want to be free because I think COVID showed them what was coming in the future. Mm-hmm. I think there's a taste of that's there. And what they don't exactly know what freedom is, the people who are scratching up the Teslas and who are fighting this aren't the ones who, those are all the people who are wearing masks during COVID.
Yeah, they were all the people that voted for Kamala.
Those are people who were doing Black Lives Matter, that whole stint. That's all those folks. Right. The people who have elected Trump and have very happy for Doge, they want the surgery to be done. They know it's going to hurt. They know that it's not going to feel good. And we have an antibiotic. They're willing to be the antibiotic, but this is not them. There's two groups of people that are at war here. And I think the large majority, while they might not know exactly what freedom looks like, they sure do know what hell looks like.
Yeah.
They know exactly what prison looks like and jail and liberty's taken away. That's not the people. These are the people who are saying, take us back to Egypt. We like that joint.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think you got like, I mean, who is the New York City mayor? Eric
Adams.
Yeah. Like you got guys like Eric Adams, working with Trump.
Right.
I think, yeah, I know, but I'm saying like, I think it is wildly popular what Trump is doing. And I think maybe the real test, the moment of, do we really want to change? Maybe we get a little bit of a preview at midterms.
Yes.
And then I think in 4 years,
that's the real test.
When Vance runs, I think that's maybe when you get your real report card, which, but I think just even ending illegal immigration, I think sending criminals back, I think it's wildly popular.
Yeah.
I think I'll be more maybe convinced when the Epstein files get released. When they did because that's going to do real damage. It seems like it seems like to me. It seems like because I think conservatives and Democrats.
Part of me is with Knox. I think all those files got burned a long time ago.
Oh yeah, I believe.
I don't know.
So I don't know if there's anything to be released, but I guess I'm just saying, like, I think the people burning and scratching Teslas are shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
I think most red-blooded Americans see that, like, you were screaming for years about electric cars.
Yeah.
And now you have like the most awesome electric car company in the world.
Facts.
And you're burning them. Yeah. Like, you don't care about electric cars.
Are you green?
Yeah, like,
are you really for climate change?
No, like this is just terrorism.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of normal Americans are like, I don't know what you guys are crazy.
I don't trust anybody who's out here. And Gabe, just to answer your point too, I think the pause for me of people who don't really want freedom is going to be when everything is actually better. The economy's finally working a little bit more for us, and people have a little more money in their pockets.
We're still complaining for Egypt.
And when we get complacent is when I'll be like, yo, we got a lot more work to do. That's when I'll be like, I thought y'all wanted to be free. This ain't freedom. This is just not that. We got to go way more in this direction.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. The other thing is when somebody talks to me a lot about Elon Musk is going to have all your information. He's going to have all your stuff. I'm thinking, did you sign the Apple agreement on your cell phone when you got it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because when you signed up and got your Chrome browser and you agreed to all the terms, did you read that? Don't talk to me about who's going to have all your information.
Yeah.
Apple has way more information on you than Elon will ever have.
Ooh,
Androids,
IRS,
that's what I mean. So just these people are just buying time.
Using a smartphone.
Go.
Or computer opens the door to a host of digital temptations. In a world saturated with pornography and other harmful content, what's a Christian to do? Well, I would tell you, except I've got like that spinny ball thing going on my screen.
The computer's struggling.
Accountable to you it's amazing. Mm-hmm. Get accountability on your phone, your computers, all your household devices.
What's the website?
It's accountable to you.
Yeah.
YOU.
.org or
com.
.com.
Oh, they're for profit.
Yeah.
They're not a nonprofit.
Okay. .com. Accountable, the word accountable, the number 2, the letter U, .com.
So Elon's doing the Doge thing, and what's funny is,
and not just that, he's bringing people back from space.
Yeah,
he's been out there for 9 months.
Yeah.
I mean,
but he's the bad guy.
I don't think we understand how epic that was for SpaceX to do what they did.
I do. That moved me.
Oh, 100%.
Because it's only, when you think about it, it's 3 people out in space.
There's 4 people.
4 people out there.
I think it's 4.
4 people. Okay, and it's like, okay, what it means to say we're going to come and get you, and we're not going to leave you out there.
No, that is the equivalent of a desert island.
Yes, and a crazy one too.
Right,
you can't go outside.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, how many square feet do you got to work moving?
How much food do you have? I mean,
your bones are atrophying for.
You're literally losing your life moment by moment in one way or another.
Slowly dying.
Yes,
basically.
And it's like, he was trying to do this during the time Biden was in office, and they wouldn't let him do this because they didn't think it would look good politically.
It would upstage him.
Right.
It would upstage them. And so they delayed. This is the kind of people that we're dealing with here.
It's wicked.
But you shouldn't be surprised for the folks who are willing to destroy their own bodies and cut their bodies in half into pieces.
Right.
Why would they care about anybody else's?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But so these are the people who are saying, I'll delay it until we can look good and it doesn't have any ramifications for us. Forget being Americans, and these are our people.
Yeah.
Right.
These are our people.
Yeah.
I don't care if you are gay, transgender, lesbian, whatever. You're a human being. We're going to come get you.
Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
We'll deal with your sins in a minute. We got pastors for that.
Yeah.
But we will come get you because you're made in the image of God. Those
Right.
people forgot about that basic fact.
Yeah.
And here Elon is saying, I'll go get them. No, we don't like the ramifications of that.
Right.
We don't like the
Yeah.
This is election season.
Right.
right. That's the people who we had in position.
Yeah.
It wasn't just them in space. It's how they dealt with everything else politically with Americans.
That's so true, Knox.
And seeing that, it's like, man, we don't have that anymore. We don't have, we actually have a different term where it's like, we have people,
Let's
we can
fix
get
the
them.
problem.
Let's get them.
Let's get him.
Let's go get them. I don't care about the political ramifications of that. I want to save those people, and I want to prove that we can do it without having the government go save us. Nah.
Man.
So-
You're so right.
Yeah, that's great. But I was trying to point out Doge, but you made a really good
Yeah,
point.
I can't get over that's like you said, such a big thing,
Yeah,
man.
no, it's huge, and we need to emphasize how big it was. 2 astronauts that they rescued.
Our producer's telling us that SpaceX left Earth in September of 2024. Right. Yep.
So they started the mission in September. Yeah. But
Was that under Biden's administration?
But he was trying to get them there sooner than that. And I think they held them off. That's what Elon had said.
Yeah, I think they were putting them off, even if they finally let them go.
I think they had left and were out there, but they still wouldn't let them pick them up. Elon had said that publicly.
Interesting.
That seems so long ago. I mean, I know it takes a long time to get to space.
And it was still fast. And they found out, there were people talking about this, but they found out that they probably could have let them come back, but they didn't know for sure because they didn't know if the Boeing would be able to actually manage their safe return. And so they say maybe in hindsight, we probably could have, but we were concerned about their life for this, so we didn't. That's why we waited. And then they prolonged the return, prolonged the rescue because of the political implications that was there.
Yeah. Wow.
I would like to fact check that because
I always like to fact check our producers.
Yeah.
You know.
Anyways, so Elon and Doge. Do you know Doge has a real administrator that's over Doge? It's not Elon. Actually.
Yes.
Elon just gets reports and maybe gives advice.
He started and then he handed it
doesn't
over.
have authority over the Doge administration. The Doge. Anyways, some people fight about that, but anyways, so Elon was on Ted Cruz's show, The Verdict. I think this like Friday or something. Real Reason.
Yeah.
And Elon's detailing how all this money from the government goes to nonprofits because in nonprofits you can't be audited and then you can do whatever you want with the money.
Oh yeah.
Buy a plane. Who cares?
There's no checks and balances on NGO.
On nonprofits. Yeah. And so, well, apparently Stacey Abrams got $1.9 billion from in her NGO nonprofit, whatever.
Oh.
And here's Elon.
This is my shocked face.
First, yeah, exactly. Here's Elon talking about that. Do we? After that, I want to play the video of Stacey Abrams. Do we have the video of Stacey Abrams talking about it? Did we
One of the
get it in
biggest
there?
scam fraud holes we've uncovered, which is really crazy, is that the government can give money to a so-called nonprofit with very few controls, and then there's no auditing subsequently of that nonprofit. So there's no. So this is where with the 1.9 billion to Stacey Abrams, they then give themselves extremely lavish, like insane salaries, expense everything to the nonprofit, buy jets and homes and all sorts of things.
Live like kings and queens.
Yes,
on the taxpayer dime.
Correct.
Wow.
So Stacey Abrams, he references it.
Yeah,
but this is a good example.
1.9 what?
Billion
dollars
with a B.
And Abrams was talking about it. Do we have that clip? Do we not have that clip ready to go?
It's ready to go.
It's ready to go. Let's play that.
One of the ironies of the attack on you, and I'm going to play what he did, was that my understanding is the program at the source of this whole thing is a program to lower costs for people. Do I have that top line correct?
You have it absolutely right.
Okay, so I'm gonna play what he had to say, and then I'm gonna ask you to explain what the program is that was such an obvious, ludicrous laugh line.
You're ready to
for,
watch somebody
the
hang
Republicans there.
themselves.
Take a listen.
$1.9 billion to recently created decarbonization of homes committee, headed up, and we know she's involved. Just at the last moment, the money was passed over by a woman named Stacey Abrams. Have you ever heard of her?
Okay, so what is this organization? What is your relation to it, and what does it do?
In 2023 and 2024, I led a program called Vitalizing DeSoto. We worked in a tiny town in South Georgia to demonstrate that by replacing energy inefficient appliances with efficient appliances, you can lower your costs. And in fact, we accomplished that. For 75% of the community, they got appliances that are lowering their bills right now. We had one woman who saw her electric bill cut in half from $180 to $98. That's what we delivered. And based on that program, a coalition of organizations, famous organizations, came together and said to the EPA, if we can do this here, we can do this for millions more Americans. Let us invest the money of America in lowering the cost for Americans. And the EPA said, okay, great, go for it.
All right. The thing about this.
Wait, hold on.
Is math don't lie.
Stacey, how much money do you get out of that?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to find out.
How much money you make out of that?
Lowering prices.
Let's bring in our producer to break down the math here.
Okay.
All right. First of all, DeSoto, Georgia. A producer. Come on in.
Everybody say hi to Bank.
DeSoto, Georgia. How many people live in DeSoto?
130 people, Gabe.
130 people.
What's 70% or 75% of 130 people?
Approximately 98 people, Gabe.
So $1.9 billion. And she said she referenced probably the best case scenario where someone cut their bill from
almost in half,
$180 to $98. Okay. Best case scenario. Let's work with the best case scenario, Bank, and break it down for me.
So we got 97 people saving about $80 a month. So that's about
best case scenario.
Best case scenario. So she said that was one woman that did that. That's assuming that everyone in the town.
But let's just let everybody.
Just let it. Okay.
Best case.
So $7,760 a month in savings total.
$7,000 a month in savings. Go ahead.
Okay. So $2 billion, right?
Yep.
That's approximately 21,475 years to get a return on investment, or 4 times the age of the earth.
21,000
years.
So wait a second. So $7,000 a month. $7,000 a month is how much per year?
7,000 times 12.
Times 12 is
I don't know.
700,000.
840,000.
Yeah, something like $840,000 a year. And then to recover that for, that's all total 98 people.
Yeah.
Right. To recover that is 21,000 years to make that 1.9
and just think that is
$1 billion.
And so what the response is going to be is like what we were doing was taking that $2 billion so that we can figure out how to apply that across the rest of the nation.
So what's unclear to me is, I mean, maybe I'm doing what you did when you give people the benefit of the doubt, like France, about the Statue
Crying
of Liberty.
for help.
Crying for help. Maybe. So did she really? Is it really 1.9 billion that was already spent, or is it 1.9 billion that just got approved to do the whole nation?
No, just approved for her to do
the whole nation.
The DeSoto. No,
only DeSoto.
Only DeSoto.
We confirm that?
Yes.
It was only that time.
She said that.
She said that.
$1.9 billion for a town of 130
people.
30 people?
Yeah. And what's hilarious is,
so by the
they're
way,
on the news, like she's on the news, like backing this up as like a legitimate
like
program.
this totally legitimate.
And this idiot news journalist doesn't even do the math.
Right. Yeah. And he's like, but the headline is
you're
lowering prices for people.
Yeah.
That's like taking water out of one side of the bathtub and dumping it out, and I mean, like, and then putting back the other side of the bathtub. It's like
no,
it's worse than that.
It's worse than that.
It's
worse than that.
Oh my goodness,
it's way worse than that. So a couple questions that I came out with right away was, how much are stoves these days?
Yeah,
and by the way, So, okay, you got a stove, you got a microwave, you got refrigerator, you got dishwasher, you got washer and dryer, you got fridge,
AC,
right? AC. Okay, I forgot about it.
They're down in Georgia,
well,
right?
if they included that,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Why not?
That's
What
not
else
called
do
an
you want?
appliance. An AC is not called an appliance.
No.
You know what? A cigar machine could be called an appliance now.
know.
That's a
Yeah,
cooler.
humidor.
Humidor.
I got that.
Why not?
I mean, they consider windows energy efficient.
Yeah.
Things,
Right.
even though they're not appliances.
So here's the big kicker for me. Why are we buying people's appliances?
Right.
Well, that's
because we're socialists.
But that's Elon didn't even question that. He just shows the ludicrousy of the silliness
Why,
of it.
why'd they need 1.9? I don't care if they had $50.
Why
They
is the
shouldn't have
government
any
buying
money.
appliances
The
for
government
people?
does not. I mean, why not just buy them all new houses? Let's just build them houses from scratch for 90
do
people.
we have a listener in our community that lives in DeSoto?
Oh, please call us.
We would.
Oh, you have
reach
to
out
be on the
me.
show.
Or
My
at least,
DMs are
or
open.
at least you're nearby.
Yeah,
Because-
nearby DeSoto.
But I just don't.
Because who's the 40 people that didn't get it? Be like, man, where's my washer and dryer?
How did you?
How come you missed me?
They're probably the Christians that were like, "This is stupid," you know.
Oh my goodness.
But
For real.
I don't think. Think of the mentalities you have to be in to feel like that the government needs to buy people washers and dryers in order for them to have efficient goods and services. No human being is ever going to say, I want to have the most inefficient thing possible. Right.
Yeah.
And when someone decides to work hard to get something that's efficient for them to do their job, it creates a whole nother market of value for the rest of people in the world. What they just did by giving the $1.9 billion is remove the value that human beings add to other people, and then make it so that now whatever they would have worked hard to create and do, it will never be done.
Right.
They've removed the possibility for GDP to grow in America by doing this, and robbed us in the process to do it.
Right.
When the government tries to get into
Our tax dollars.
using our tax dollars, but this is. You know what? We do this all the time. Christian nonprofits do the same thing.
Sure.
We do it all the time. And so the question really is, well, how much did it cost for you guys to even do this too, right? Because now I'm saying none of you guys are worth that. Stacey, what did you make? $400 million off of this? No way.
All of this is driven though by a false religion. I mean,
It's all driven by religion.
I mean, so
Absolutely.
the thing is like you don't believe in their God.
That's right.
And that's why it's like they're doing.
And you can never spend enough for your God.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it's like
that's
you
right.
don't believe, but if you believe,
1.9 million was worth it.
yeah, like that was their offering to their God, the goddess, the goddess
of climate change,
the goddess of
whatever.
of climate change,
Yeah.
the goddess of whatever. Like, but if you believe that energy is running out, like it's
Yes.
like they believe in like they're an end times, prophecy religion.
Yeah.
The sea levels are going to rise. The ice caps are melting. There's the big hole in the ozone. All the things like they believe that. They literally believe that the world is coming to an end if we don't stop it. There's no amount you could spend in service of their goddess.
That's right.
That would be too much. And then the fact that they were doing this mission in DeSoto.
This is like leaving the people in space to me.
Yeah.
It really is. Because basically what they've done is created slaves out of the people.
Yeah.
They've removed their humanity in every way. And I can't help but think of like, when you believe their God, their gods are cruel and they always break the hearts of their worshipers every time, right?
Yes.
And so what they've done is remove the humanity from the individual to be able to work to create either a technology for a particular group of people that need it, who can't afford it, and say, okay, this is what we went through. What are the things around me? How can I do it? How create a service to restore these things?
Yeah.
Can I, or a company to say, hey, let's create a sale that allows people to get these at a cheaper price, boost the economy, and create other industries. There's so many other options that are on the table when you acknowledge the humanity of a person made in the image of God, a person made to create, a person made to work, and you get so much more out of it. When you are just giving them everything because you're trying to be efficient, you become the most inefficient thing possible.
Yeah,
right? You don't get muscles by not lifting. You got to lift to get muscles. And if people don't lift, they don't get muscles.
That's right. Here's the other thing is, I mean, the other, I mean, I can't believe just like how they just
and they
brush
stole
over.
from us.
They just brush over. Yeah. And they stole all that stuff.
Yeah.
But all these new appliances that are coming out, they're crap. I mean, they are because
you ain't got to pay for them.
Introduce all these energy efficiency technologies.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in my house 2015, and when we bought it, it's an old farmhouse, but the guy before us installed all this professional grade frigid air appliances, the refrigerator, microwave, the oven, everything, all that stuff. I brought my own washer and dryer in, but they were newer too. Our fridge, we're on our, I think, third fridge.
Wow.
We keep getting it gets replaced. And there was a warranty on it. I think the warranty's gone now. But our fridge our new fridge is falling apart. Like the shelves, everything. The oven that we've had to fix it twice. And this is Frigidaire Professional Appliance. Like, because they're requiring all these government efficiencies in the new appliances, they really do. They're awful.
It's not just requiring.
The washer
they're
and dryer
subsidizing it.
is horrible.
They are
I went and bought
subsidizing
an
it.
old washer. I forget one of my appliances. I went and bought an old one because I was tired of the new ones.
Yeah.
And just like I'm going on Craigslist, Facebook, whatever, trying to find an old one. And I did. I love it.
Yeah.
Turn on and off. That's
I
all I need to
still
do.
have
On,
an
off.
old freezer from like 1998 or something like that. That still works super well.
My outdoor fridge is a 70s fridge. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's the rounded version.
Oh, everything. It's still cranking.
It's still cranking away.
But that's but when we have the EPA has been one of the worst things possible.
Right.
There's some good that's come from it, but it's been horrible in other ways because what we incentivize, we've incentivized removing the market people from the equation.
Yeah.
And so companies are saying we want to have a healthier environment. And so what we'll do is we'll pay people to make things a certain way. Whether or not it's valuable to the customer is irrelevant.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, guess what? The customer is going to say, well, I don't want. And so we're forcing people to live in a horrible way because we keep slaving them up by not letting them create for each other.
All right. So last thing here, and I'm bringing this up really because I actually don't know what to think. I don't know what to think about this. I was talking to Knox before we went on air, and Trump and the Kennedy Center. So Trump, when he became president, found out that the Kennedy Center was full of board members that were leftist loonies.
Yeah.
And they were doing dumb stuff with the Kennedy Center. The events were dumb. I mean, just everything about it. Apparently the building's not as healthy as it needs to be or something. There's problems with the building. And so Trump, apparently as president, makes the board of can make the board of the Kennedy Center, can fire him, hire him, whatever. And so Trump actually appointed himself, got rid of the board, appointed the board, and appointed himself, I think, chair of the board.
Yeah.
Here's Trump talking about what he's doing with the Kennedy Center.
So we're going to spend a lot of effort, a lot of money on crime, and we're going to spend it on fixing up. We don't want graffitis on the beautiful white statuary marble, and we want to have our roads good and everything else. We'll be able to do that easily, and this is a part of it. I mean, Kennedy Center is a very big part of it, and you can't have this looking like it does. I'm so surprised because, I know the person who was in charge of it, and he's a good man. I never realized this was in such bad shape. I've been so busy, I haven't been able to be here in a long time. And I shouldn't be with what I'm doing. But I thought it was important because I've been hearing reports, and I thought it was very important to make this good. It's a very big part of the fabric of Washington, D.C.
So apparently the chair was a pretty good guy, and the board was making it horrible for him, so he couldn't really do anything.
Okay.
Trump fires the board, the chair steps down, or whatever happened. Trump is now there. Now my question is, and this is where I don't know how to think about this. Why is he spending his time at the Kennedy? He's at the Kennedy Center here. He's there and running and appointing himself as board of the Kennedy Center, cleaning up the Kennedy Center, making it operate whatever needs to be operating better. I don't know. But it seems important enough to him to do this in the midst of all the other, he got off the phone with Putin today, trying to negotiate a peace deal.
Right.
With, all these big issues going on, and Trump's doing this thing with the Kennedy Center. My take is he's doing it because he's making a point. There's something strategic there that I'm not getting because I'm not even DC culture. I think this is probably a very DC related move for him.
It's not just DC, but it's everything.
Yeah. Well, what do you think's going on?
So
I don't know. I really don't.
So just for those who don't know, so the Kennedy Center, that's short for, it's the JFK Memorial Center for the Performing Arts.
That's right.
So it's a national cultural center of the United States.
Yeah.
It's
for the arts.
So you've got, performance art, theater, dance, concerts. It's the official residence of the National Symphony Orchestra,
right,
and the Washington National Opera.
Do you know how gay arts have been, how trans they have become?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, Yeah.
If Trump could somehow be the president of the head of Hollywood, do you think Hollywood would look different?
Yeah.
Just by owning, and then from there,
Mel Gibson,
and just
president of Hollywood,
right, and just from there, the effect that it would have everywhere else.
Yeah. I think that's what he's getting at with it. Like, this is like the fabric of Washington, D.C. It's like this cultural angle.
Well, it controls and it influences everything else too, right?
Right.
So
this like, I mean, he's way more incarnational,
right,
in certain ways than most Christians.
What does a culture need? What is it? What part of what tells you what the culture is by what they create in their arts?
Yeah.
Right. And to be able to have some sort of immune system that normally has been affecting the way that people have thought about politics and family and humanity.
Gay arts.
That's right.
I mean,
that's exactly right.
Why have we become a gay country?
Effeminized. Right?
Why have we become a tranny country?
Exactly.
Well, because we've been dumping billions of dollars into entertainment that is training us and grooming us and discipling us into being sexually confused.
And it's already working his plan because Hamilton didn't even want to perform there.
Yeah. Right.
Right. Like it's already, so then when you got people, just him being there has already created an immune system.
I didn't notice that. I did not pick up on that.
Yeah.
It's already created an immune system around what kind of culture we are going to be.
Yep.
Just him being at the head of it. So now what you start seeing, and there is not a stronger figure to put in that position to say no without ever having to say no about something.
Right.
And now it's going to attract way more potential pieces of art that are historical American based, that have our vision, that have our worldview, music that sings the songs that our forefathers had for us, art that was developed to tell the story of America in its historical context. Yeah. You don't even have to say yes and no to stuff. You being there as the president with the kind of person you are is going to attract and reflect and diffuse some things from ever coming your way.
It's true.
It's a great plan without ever having to do anything.
Yeah.
Right. And if you want to have a long lasting impact, you better control the arts. Arts are a form of education for people's alliances and for people's desires to be attached to something.
Right.
What the arts have been doing is removing people's attachment from their own place that they are at and have been for generations. And so to go in here is to say, I'm going to make sure the next 20 years, 30 years, by what me being here for the next 4, is a place that influences people to their historical traditions, to tie their allegiances back to America.
I see this as connected to his like 250 United States birthday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Celebration.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like
4th of July party.
Yes.
Your birthday party for the United States.
Yeah. Like, and I moved to like stirring up old school traditional patriotism.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now I think long term, I think something like this should be spun into a private organization. I don't know how this works. I don't know the exact setup and the connection between it and the government. And I think
that's right.
I think this is a short term step to do like this is the chemo.
Yes.
To try to get all the gay stuff out and establish a more patriotic cultural center.
Oh,
and
you just can't.
Trump
President
loves
Trump
music.
is doing this. He was on the front cover of Playboy magazine.
Right.
You know, it's just so funny that he's getting things in a way that I don't know. George Bush didn't get it, or maybe he did. I don't know.
Right.
But he's getting things in a way that most Christians aren't getting it.
Right.
Taking about the art.
Yeah.
Getting the LGBT shenanigans out of the arts, whatever.
Right.
It's amazing that Trump's doing it.
Well, it's a big play because
y'all's explanation I buy.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't think we understand how important, and this is why we don't sing Psalms either in our churches, but we don't understand how important music is to a culture.
Yeah. Yeah. It opens up your
We
senses.
or just beauty.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
I think that's the thing is like, I mean, the old transcendentals
Yes.
that the medieval Christians identified as sort of just fundamental to the way God made the world and reality that ultimately reflect his glory, truth, goodness, and beauty. Christians usually get the truth.
Yeah.
Often get the morality, the goodness.
We get that more than
But where we are lame and where we consistently get just F's is beauty. We don't understand how the things that we find beautiful, attractive, those are things that God's wired us in a way that's far more potent than we realize. This is where you get stories. This is where you get music.
Yeah.
This is where you have liturgy. This is where you have poetry.
That's right.
All the arts. I mean, that's where that's another component of the way that God has made us and Christians frequently don't understand that, don't get it.
There's I just found this show called, well, this guy, he did The Epic. Have you guys heard about this? The Epic? It's fantastic. It's basically the Odyssey set to Odyssey musical.
The Odyssey musical.
Yeah.
Okay. Like Homer's Odyssey.
Yeah. Bree's over here. She loves it. Am I right, Bree? She's a fan.
Okay.
And I listened to it on break. It is fantastic.
Okay. Where do you find this?
It's just right on YouTube. If you type in the
Epic.
The Epic musical.
Okay.
And I said, because as you're talking about this, it was done in such a way where it was modernized, but the kind of thing that it's doing, the music, you're getting the story immediately. You see it, and you can listen to it, and you see all the visuals. People are going through the Odyssey all the time. We have a classical education and training, and yet we're missing out on the arts of that. And here's this guy who I don't believe is a Christian, who just loves this in the same way that Lin-Manuel loved Hamilton. And he's building melodies and music around the story. And his take on it is just like, wow. And it's giving you a desire to love the education that is not just there in the gruesome, oh, here's the truth, here's the information, go. No, now it makes you see the beauty of the story, and it makes you see the monsters in the story, and it makes you see what man can become, and what it looks like to protect your family and yet be the monster. And it's fantastic work done. It's like 2 hours.
I'm looking at it right now.
Our forefathers built cathedrals. You know, like you think about that.
Beauty.
Like
to this day,
our forefathers built Western Christendom.
Yeah.
That Muslims are occupying.
Yeah. Oh yeah. and of course, I mean, truth came first.
Yeah.
And it was very important. I mean, we hammered out doctrines in those early councils, Council of Nicaea and Council of Chalcedon, Council of Constantinople, the triune God. We hammered out the atonement. We hammered out the doctrine of Christ. And at the same time, we're discipling these nations. We're teaching them morality. We're teaching them goodness. We're teaching them a work ethic. We're teaching them to work 6 days, rest 1 day. We're teaching them to worship.
Yeah.
And then, right on schedule, we're also teaching them to love beauty.
Yep.
And to give themselves to the beauty is sort of the incarnation of that truth
reality.
and goodness.
That's good.
And it glorifies it. But when a culture leaves that behind, you're already beginning to retreat, because we are such incarnational creatures that whatever captures your heart, whatever a culture believes is beautiful, that's the worship of that culture.
That's right.
And so, like, what are our most what are the most expensive buildings we build now?
Right. And the most iconic.
The most iconic stadiums. Well, it's football stadiums and it's gay theaters.
That's it.
Arts. Yeah, I mean, but it's like we've lost that space, and so we've lost that vision, and we've lost that war.
And because of that, we have a hard time tying our allegiances.
That's right.
To God.
Yeah.
And to our nation and to our people
and to our descendants.
Well, we can't pass it on. There's
there's nothing that, I mean, it's this sort of bare knuckle generational inheritance. It's like oatmeal, and rice and beans kind of inheritance.
Yes.
Like, it's good for you. You eat your greens.
And so you do,
And like, by God's grace, like a lot of them do. Like, okay, your dad said eat my greens, so I eat my greens. But it's not like, no, but it's not the feast.
Right.
It's not this. It's not steak. It's not the fine wine. It's not the stories. It's not the songs. It's not the worship. It's not the cathedral. It's not the, my great grandfather laid the foundation stone of this church building, and he and his son and his son and his son and my dad are buried in this graveyard, and I, by God's grace, am going to be buried there too, because we're going to rise together at the resurrection.
That's fantastic. If you're single, get married. If you're married, have you some kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until tomorrow, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politic.
Legacy media is falling apart, and as it crumbles, a void is opening, a void that we intend to fill. The big legacy news networks currently average just 1.2 million viewers a weeknight, and those numbers are only going to get lower. Legacy media is dying, and the younger generation has moved on. Legacy media panders. Legacy media lies. Legacy media does not know what the truth is. and they don't care about it. Legacy Media is a dumpster fire. This is why we few in our wild imaginations have started the Fight Laugh Feast Network. Our goal is to take down the legacy media giant of the last 50 years with our 5 stones. We started in 2016 with our flagship show, Cross Politic. Since those small beginnings, we now air on DirecTV. Our broader podcast network now gets over 4 million downloads a year. And our Fight Laugh Feast pub, which includes TV shows like This America, The Rowdy Christian's Guide, Pastors in Politics, and As the Lord Pleases, with your support, many more to come. Our goal is to become the flagship new media 2.0 network over the next 50 years and take over nightly news, sports, sitcoms, hunting shows, and more, all conveniently stored for you in our Fight Laugh Feast pub. We're already reaching the next generation through our podcast shows on YouTube, X, and our pub, while also tapping into legacy media audiences by airing our shows on TV through DirecTV and Xfinity. We have made a lot of progress with some duct tape and a good bit of intuition and a lot of sweat. And now we need your support more than ever. The TV networks have had such a negative impact on our households, and we're trying, by the grace of God, to put a stop to that. We have the opportunity. We just need the army. Now more than ever, we need you to join our pub to help us reach our goal of 1 million pub supporters in the next 5 years. There's no way around it. Competing with Fox and the Alphabet networks without money is virtually impossible. It's cheap for you to join. And when you do, you're combining your small monthly support with a growing army of like-minded Christians. We have thousands, we need millions. So if you want more of the Alphabet network's misinformation and lies, don't join. But if you want to give us a mere 5 stones, then please join the pub, and together we will take a swing at the head of big media, all the while fighting, laughing, and feasting to the glory of God.